Hey everybody, it is Amber, and I am here today to share 8 tips that are questions you can ask yourself as you're getting ready to tackle that flip. And so a lot of these are going to be questions you're going to ask yourself over and over again as you continue to work through this house flipping process. It might be that you use them on every project that you do. They might change as you progress in your expertise and your skill set when it comes to house flipping, but they're great questions to ask even when it comes to houses that might not be flipped. Maybe you're looking at building a rental portfolio, or maybe you're looking at a house that you would be considering for your own use to build equity in. So I'm going to start out. The first question you're going to want to ask yourself is, which price is more important? Is it going to be the sale price, or is it going to be the purchase price? And if you are familiar with anything I've ever said about buying properties, especially when you're buying properties at a discount, you're going to want to pay attention to that very, very, very important purchase price, because that is actually the price that is going to determine whether or not your project is profitable before you ever get started. There's a saying that you make your money when you buy the house, not when you sell it. So leave room for those pleasant surprises at the end where maybe the house sells for a little bit higher than you thought initially, or maybe there's multiple buyers interested. But in order to make sure you've got all your expenses and your profit covered, you want to pay attention to that very, very, very important purchase price. Second, where can you find the best deals in your market? Every market is different. I was just on a call this morning with somebody in a market where they said, the MLS is not a place where many people are listing their houses right now, especially if they're distressed or in a type of situation where somebody needs to offload it quickly. There's a lot of investors in that market who work with wholesalers, so that's a very strong wholesaling market. Do you know in your market what your odds are of getting a deal on the MLS versus through somebody else? Because if you don't know, you're going to want to find out, because that's where you're going to get those deals that get you that best purchase price. So maybe that means you go to one of your local real estate investing meetings and you find out from other investors where they're buying their properties. So that's something you're going to want to do some research on, because you're going to want to make sure you're going to the place for your deals where you can get the best price. All right, third, should you get a home inspection? This is something that a lot of more advanced and experienced investors will forego if they are familiar with properties and they are familiar with construction, renovations, and repairs. But if you're just getting started, this is a great opportunity for you to be learning. So schedule an inspection when you put your offer in on your property. Gives you a little bit more time to get somebody in there to walk through with you, maybe point some things out. If you're having an inspection, go attend that with the inspector and have them educate you as you're walking through. That's one of the #1 ways people can learn about what those flags are to look for in properties, is by walking through somebody who's a professional with a ton of experience. With home inspectors as well, oftentimes they'll be able to give you an idea as far as different levels of repair that might be needed. They might even know a little bit about expense, because obviously they've been in situations before where they've seen things in homes. So that's a great resource to tap into and use during your purchase process to get educated. #4, who do you have to help you? So when you're thinking about flipping a house, there is a couple people you're going to need for sure to help you. One would be a realtor if you don't have one. Obviously, a contractor is the other person. So if you know you're going to need these people to help you when you find that house, make sure you're trying to find them before you actually need them. A lot of times contractors are scheduled far enough out that they might not have availability, but they might have recommendations for other people you can work with. Plus, you want to give yourself time to be checking references, making sure that you're comfortable and that the people that you're working with and going to walk through your property are people who have done work with others and they've been happy and it's been a good outcome. Next, what is your time frame for flipping, and is it realistic? So this is actually something that I love to use as well when I'm having contractors walk through jobs and give bids, because if somebody's a seasoned, experienced contractor, they're going to give you a pretty realistic projection about time and how long that project's going to take. Somebody who's not very experienced is usually going to give you a much shorter time frame, and that's also somebody who maybe doesn't actually have as much work as they think they do. So that's going to be a really good indicator for you as to far as if that person is the right person to bring on for your job. We actually just had a job where we had a new contractor bid. We did not end up working with him, but he came in and his time frame was 8 weeks. 8 weeks. We were doing a 3-level renovation. Normally those are 16 to 18 weeks. I've done a ton of those. So when he came in and gave me an 8-week time frame, I knew right away that he wasn't the right fit, because there's no way that you would do a project that large in 8 weeks. Just even with the inspections and the rough-in process and the subcontractors who had to be scheduled to come in, 8 weeks would be a really, really tight time frame. All right, how does the market affect my flip? Well, this is a really good question. It's a good question because when the market is hot, everything is more expensive. So yes, you might sell a house for more, but at the same time, you're going to pay more when you're buying it. And the opposite is true as well. When the market is not strong, you might get a better deal on the house, but you might not sell it as quickly as you would think. So the market does affect your flips no matter what it's doing. So a lot of times people will look at up and coming areas, especially when they're just getting started, because those are where you might get a little bit more flexibility with your sale price. You might have a little bit more upside compared to where you're buying that property for purchase price. All right, so here's another question to think about. How quickly might you want to do your next flip? So if you've got this first flip, you're under contract, you're getting your contractors working, it's about 3/4 of the way done, you might want to start thinking about, are you going to be ready to buy another flip, or are you going to want to wait? Because if you wait too long, you might have downtime and you might have a gap. If that's okay with you, no problem, because when you're just getting started, if you've got another form of income, it might not be necessary for you to make that jump so quickly. But if it's something you feel is going really well, if you get a contract right away, you might want to prepare yourself to start looking for that next project. And then number 8, this is one I always tell people can really trip you up if you're not careful, and it's, can you think like an investor rather than a homeowner? And I caution this for a couple of reasons. Yes, you want to be mindful of a budget, because yes, you do want to make sure you're making a profit. At the same time, you want to be creating a space that homeowners want. You want to create something that doesn't look like everybody else's, and you want to create something that doesn't necessarily use the least expensive materials, because home buyers are so educated and savvy now that they're really familiar with that and how that looks, and they want to feel like they're purchasing a property that not only is move-in ready but also has some of the design elements that they would choose themselves. So be really careful with that, but do not overspend, because that's one thing even an experienced investor can get caught doing, and that's a challenging spot to be in, because you might be making choices and spending money on things that a homeowner would not. So I hope these tips are helpful for you guys today. Let me know. This is our second week of doing Monday through Friday Q&A on our Facebook Live page. If you guys have questions or comments, make sure you're leaving them below, and we will be back tomorrow with another topic. Thanks so much.